and the fact that this brother hasn't been picked in the first 3 rounds. That is a crime.
Mm-hmm.
It is a disgrace. It's like understood. We don't want him because we don't like his daddy. We don't like his. We have to take into reality what we saw. Shedeur Sanders looked very, very bad. Very.
Also, you mentioned the fact that why would they sabotage an NFL Legends player? I think that's part of it too.
That was a straight-up disaster move, and Stephen A. Smith let the whole world know it. He didn't ease into it, didn't warm up, he just snapped on Shadur Sanders in a way that had the entire sports world frozen in place. Shedur's NFL journey has been chaotic from day one, and now the word is out that he's signing a deal outside the league. Stephen A. wasn't just frustrated, he called it a crime and a disgrace, and he said it with the kind of energy that made everyone stop scrolling instantly. But he didn't stop there. He started dropping hints about what's really been happening behind the scenes with the Sanders family, and the whole thing exploded during a wild Instagram live that pulled in millions of stunned viewers. Stephen A., a guy famous for never holding back, confronted Shadur Sanders, son of Hall of Famer Deion "Primetime" Sanders, right there in real time. Fans couldn't believe what they were watching as he grilled Shadur about this mysterious new contract that had the rumor mill spinning out of control. This wasn't casual sports talk. It felt like a public hearing.
That if he didn't like the situation his son was in, he was going to pull him up out of there. Stuff like that. On the NFL level, can't do.
Shadur isn't just another rookie chasing a shot at the league. He's the son of one of the biggest, loudest, most influential names the sport has ever seen. For Stephen A., who spent decades calling out athletes, owners, and coaches with zero hesitation, watching Shadur step away from the NFL system and sign an outside deal was like watching someone kick open the wrong door at the wrong time. Think about it like this. Shadur came into the league with pressure that could crush a lot of rookies. Scouts hyped him up as a possible first-rounder. Analysts believed he could take over a franchise someday, and fans thought his rise was a sure thing. But when draft day arrived, everything flipped and he slid into the late rounds, leaving insiders stunned. Even Stephen A. once warned everyone not to ignore how things work behind the scenes in the NFL, and that warning suddenly feels like a prediction that came true. What happened to Shadur didn't feel like football business. It felt like something deeper, something messy, something personal. Stephen A. even suggested it looked like collusion by NFL owners who supposedly wanted to keep Shadur boxed in because of his father, Deion Sanders. The moment Shadur decided to sign a contract outside the league's grip, it didn't feel like a routine move anymore. It felt like a spark thrown into a room full of hidden tension. Critics immediately called it reckless. Insiders whispered it was career suicide. But in Shedur's mind, this wasn't about running from the league. It was about taking back control from front offices that already showed they weren't going to treat him fairly. He wasn't looking for drama. He was looking for his own lane. Stephen A. Smith, though, he wasn't going to let any of this slide, not for a second. When they went live and stared each other down through the screen, the intensity was obvious. On one side, Stephen A. was doing what he's built his whole career on, speaking without filters. On the other side, Shadur looked like a young quarterback who was tired of being treated like a pawn in a league run by billion-dollar decision-makers. At one point, Stephen A. looked straight into the camera and told Shadur something so sharp that the chat went silent. You could feel the tension jump through the screen. This wasn't just about Shadur Sanders, it was about the name he carried and the legacy that follows him everywhere. Because let's be honest, Deion Sanders has spent years shaking up the system, challenging the establishment and refusing to play by the old rules. Now, it looks like Shadur is feeling the ripple effect of everything his father ever stood up against. This wasn't just a debate, this was a conversation about power, control, and whether a young black quarterback with talent, poise, and pedigree would ever be allowed to step outside a system that has shut down so many players before him. That's exactly why Stephen A. went so hard on IG Live. In his eyes, Shadur wasn't just making a contract decision, he was making a statement, a challenge, a direct push against the league. And even though Stephen A. has spent years calling out owners for double standards, on this night, he turned that same heat toward Shadur, almost like he was warning him loud and clear. If you're going to take on a machine this big, you better be ready for everything that comes back your way. This is the same NFL that pushed Colin Kaepernick out of the league just for taking a knee during the anthem, and Stephen A. Smith didn't hesitate to point that out. He even reminded everyone that while owners were pocketing $246 million checks, they still blamed Kaepernick for hurting business, which didn't make any sense.
Usually injuries or off-the-field issues force you to plummet, none of which applies to Shadur Sanders.
The message from the league has always been clear. They don't forgive, and they never forget. But Shedeur Sanders wasn't bowing down to any of that pressure. He stood firm and defended his choice, saying he wasn't going to let his future be controlled by executives who already decided they had no faith in him. You could hear the frustration and fire in his voice, a fire that echoed the same energy Deion Sanders carried in his own battles with the football establishment. Meanwhile, the live chat was blowing up. Fans were typing faster than the screen could update. Some were calling Stephen A. hypocrite. Others were panicking, saying Shedeur had just signed away his entire future. But then there were a few brave commenters who said what a lot of people were thinking, that maybe this was exactly what the NFL feared the most, because if Shedeur shines outside their league, he exposes something powerful, the possibility that the NFL's control over talent isn't as invincible as they want the world to think, that IG Live didn't feel like a conversation. It felt like a full-blown generational clash. On one side, there was the old-school mindset that still bends to billionaire owners and league traditions. On the other side, you had the new generation. Athletes like Shadur Sanders, willing to risk everything to be independent and build their own lane. What people thought would be a quick discussion instantly turned into a career-defining showdown right in front of fans' eyes. The second the notification popped up saying Stephen A. Smith is live with Shedeur Sanders, fans assumed it would be a standard debate. But within minutes, everyone realized this was different. It was tense, raw, and ready to take over the internet. Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube exploded with reaction videos, re-uploads, and non-stop commentary. Hashtags like #Shedeur Sanders, #Stephen A, and #NFLXSB started trending overnight. But the biggest twist wasn't just what they said. It was when it happened. Shedeur had just secured a multi-million-dollar deal outside the NFL. One tied to endorsements, media projects, and ventures way beyond football. No fifth-round rookie had ever landed that kind of leverage or money. And that's exactly why people inside the league started getting uneasy. And because if Shedeur proves he can shine without the NFL's stamp of approval, what stops other young stars from breaking away too? That's the type of shift that makes the league's grip look shaky. Everyone expected Stephen A. to dominate the entire exchange. After all, he's been grilling athletes for decades. But Shedeur didn't fold for a second. He stayed calm, clear, and direct. He reminded everyone watching that pressure wasn't new to him. He handled expectations at Jackson State. He helped Deion revive Colorado football, and he's been under a spotlight his whole life. So when Stephen A. accused him of running from the NFL system, Shedeur fired back instantly, saying, "If the NFL didn't want me, why should I give them control over me? They had their chance. I'm not begging for a seat at their table, I'm building my own." The comments exploded with reactions. Supporters flooded the chat with fire emojis and messages like, "Talk your talk," while critics shot back with warnings like, "You'll regret this," and "Nobody wins against the NFL." It felt like the whole football world was split right down the middle. The showdown became headline news the next morning. Skip Bayless called it the boldest move we've ever seen from a rookie quarterback. Shannon Sharp compared it to Colin Kaepernick's clash with ownership when activism met the business side of the game. ESPN ran clips of the IG Live back-to-back every hour, milking every second of the drama. But the darkest reaction didn't happen on camera, it came from behind the scenes. Anonymous NFL executives quietly told reporters that Shedeur burned every bridge and would never play meaningful downs in the league again. That cold whisper sounded familiar, almost like the echoes of other players who had challenged the system and felt the consequences.
Sad part about what we saw this weekend. That may be the only time we see Shedeur Sanders on the NFL field this year. That will be our lasting.
It reminded everyone of his draft day humiliation, when a top 20 talent slid into the late rounds like he didn't even matter. Stephen A. had said it back then. This wasn't about talent, it was about politics. And now, by standing face-to-face with Stephen A. on a public live stream, Shedeur Sanders dragged every piece of the NFL's hidden mess straight into the light. This was never just about Shedeur. This was about his father, Deion Sanders. A name that has always been bigger than the game. Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, TV personality, and the college coach who turned Colorado football into a media storm every single week. NFL owners didn't like how much attention he pulled, and now it looked like his son was the one taking the hit for it on IG Live. People finally started saying it out loud. Shedeur wasn't being judged on his ability. He was being punished because of his last name. Think about that for a second. The NFL, the league that loves to preach about merit, was now being accused of boxing out a young quarterback, not because of his play, but because his father's influence was too strong for them to manage. That's not just questionable. It's a system problem, and fans felt the anger instantly. How could a league that keeps giving multiple chances to players with DUIs, assault issues, and ugly off-field drama suddenly act like Shedeur Sanders was too difficult to deal with? It didn't make sense. This is a young quarterback with no legal trouble, no locker room issues, and solid numbers on the field. His only crime was having a father who openly said he wanted to help guide his son's career path. And that's where the hypocrisy hit like a punch. Teams are willing to ignore violent behavior, but a dad wanting what's best for his son is suddenly some sort of major problem. Fans caught the double standard instantly, and once the IG Live replay started spreading everywhere, the split got even sharper. On one side, Team Shedeur saying he was breaking chains, creating his own lane, moving with the kind of independence that changed music, business, and entertainment. On the other side, Stephen A. warning that Shedeur was throwing away legacy, prestige, and the NFL spotlight for fast money and attention. But maybe the loudest reaction was the part nobody heard. The NFL said absolutely nothing. No statement, no comment, no pushback. That silence was loud, and it made people feel like the league wanted this whole situation to disappear quietly. But public opinion is power, and the new public opinion was simple. The NFL was nervous. By the end of the week, Shedeur Sanders went from overlooked rookie to one of the most talked about athletes in the entire sports world. What he did was unthinkable. He forced the most powerful league in America to hide in the background of the conversation they couldn't control. Stephen A. thought he was putting Shedeur on blast, but all he did was spotlight the cracks in the NFL's image, making the whole machine look exposed and outdated. And if anyone thought that IG Live moment was the peak, they were wrong, because what came next was even worse. A full-blown, organized hate campaign started following Shedeur everywhere he went. Then came the arrogance label, straight from the NFL's old, dusty playbook. Before the draft, unnamed scouts whispered that Shedeur was too confident, not coachable, and that his interviews didn't impress executives. But here's the double standard everyone sees. When a white quarterback walks with the swagger, people call it leadership. When Shedeur does the same thing, suddenly it becomes arrogance. And it didn't stop there. Every ounce of criticism Shedeur gets multiplied because of who his father is. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a parent, he's a Hall of Famer, a cultural icon, and one of the strongest voices in sports. He spent years calling out hypocrisy in the NFL, the NCAA, and the media. And let's be honest, owners do not like being challenged, so when Deion publicly said he wanted some control over his son's career direction, the blowback didn't land on him. It hit Shedeur instead. That's the part that stings the most. Here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. There are fans who secretly want Shedeur Sanders to fail. Why? Because him succeeding would force them to admit the system isn't as fair or clean as they claim. His success would expose everything they're trying to ignore. If Shedeur Sanders succeeds, it proves something the NFL never wants to see, that their system can be bypassed. It shows that independence, family legacy, and self-made power can actually win against the machine. But if he fails, it gives every critic exactly what they want. It lets them say, see, you can't beat the system. Even Stephen A. hinted at this on First Take when he called out the fans who are just waiting for Shedeur's next slip-up so they can yell, I told you so, at the top of their lungs. Right now, every single throw he makes, every contract he signs, every headline with his name, people twist it into ammunition against him, and the hate isn't coming from just one direction. It's everything stacked together. He's Deion's son. He broke the mold. He got major money before touching the NFL. He walks with confidence. And worst of all, he challenges the league's power structure. That combination makes him a lightning rod for critics everywhere. While most rookie quarterbacks get time and space to grow, Shedeur is being judged live, in real time, under the brightest spotlight imaginable, with millions waiting for him. But here's the twist. Hate doesn't always destroy careers. Sometimes it creates a legend. And if Shedeur takes all that noise and flips it into fuel, he could turn this entire story upside down and silence every critic rooting for him to fall. History shows the hate is sweeter than victory when you prove them wrong. Stephen A. thrives in this kind of chaos. He's never been scared to say out loud what everyone else whispers behind closed doors. That IG Live moment wasn't random. It was another chapter in his signature style of confrontation, calling out names, dropping sharp opinions, and sparking conversations when the rest of the sports world tries to stay quiet. He's gone after athletes, owners, and coaches for decades, making enemies, stirring debates, and generating headline after headline. Speaking of heaven. Look at Tom Brady. To most fans, he's the greatest of all time. But not to Stephen A. For years, he's gone against that narrative, questioning Brady's crown and insisting the Patriots' loaded defenses and Bill Belichick's coaching brilliance were just as responsible for those rings as Brady's arm. In a 2020 ESPN conversation, he straight up said, Tom Brady's not the greatest quarterback of all time. Stephen A. has never hesitated to take aim at Brady. He's made it clear he thinks the so-called GOAT benefited from perfect circumstances way more than raw greatness. He's argued over and over that the Patriots dynasty wasn't just about Brady. It was about elite coaching, elite systems, and elite supporting talent. In his words, Brady was blessed with circumstances, not just unmatched ability. Plenty of fans and analysts disagree, but Stephen A.'s takes always spark debate. And here's the twist. His issue with Brady goes deeper than stats. He's openly mocked the TB12 lifestyle brand and the way Brady markets himself as some invincible athlete who cracked the code of aging. In a fiery 2017 First Take episode, Stephen A. snapped, Tom Brady's got to be kidding me with this TB12 stuff. He's not invincible. He's not a superhero. He believes the diet, recovery plan, and brand are overhyped, and he's not shy about saying so. Experts have questioned the science behind TB12. And Stephen A. always doubles down, insisting Brady's longevity comes from natural skill, discipline, and competitive drive, not smoothies and resistance bands. In 2020, he even said, I don't think the TB12 lifestyle is why he's still great. He still has the talent, the skills, and the will to win. And Brady isn't the only big name in Stephen A.'s crosshairs. Aaron Rodgers, multiple MVP Super Bowl winner, face of the Packers, has been a frequent target too. Stephen A. has questioned Rodgers' leadership, consistency, and clutch moments for years. In 2019, he dropped this heavy line. Aaron Rodgers is not the leader that Tom Brady is. He's not the guy that can take over a game like Brady can. Harsh words for a quarterback with Rodgers' resume, but Stephen A. insists Rodgers' leadership style has flaws. That he can throw perfect passes but doesn't always elevate his team when the pressure hits its peak. Rodgers fans argue back nonstop, but Stephen A. hasn't backed down once. Odell Beckham Jr. has taken punches from Stephen A. too. OBJ, iconic catches, highlight plays, and a personality bigger than some franchises, has heard Stephen A. question his work ethic for years. Back in 2019, he told ESPN, Odell Beckham Jr. is a guy with talent, but he's got to prove himself to me as a worker. OBJ's upscale lifestyle, fashion brand, celebrity relationships, and non-stop headlines off the field only added fuel to Stephen A.'s argument. It sparked endless debates among fans. Is OBJ a misunderstood star or a wideout who never fully tapped into his potential? But one of Stephen A.'s most polarizing takes of all time came when he talked about Colin Kaepernick. While Kaepernick kneeled in protest against racial inequality, the entire sports world cracked open, and Stephen A. found himself in the middle of one of the most heated debates the NFL has ever seen. Stephen A. made it clear he believed athletes should stand during the anthem and show respect for the flag. And that opinion split the sports world like a shockwave. Some people praised Stephen A. for sticking to tradition, while others accused him of missing the bigger picture of what Colin Kaepernick was fighting for. The debate was intense, with players, analysts, and fans all picking sides, and Stephen A.'s stance on Kaepernick still stands as one of the most controversial moments of his career. Love to debate him or hate listening to him, Stephen A. built his entire brand on throwing sparks into every conversation he touches, and this chapter was no different. Cam Newton, former MVP, human highlight reel, and the quarterback who carried the Carolina Panthers to a Super Bowl, still couldn't avoid Stephen A.'s fire. Back in 2016 on First Take, Stephen A. went in saying, Cam Newton is a guy with a lot of talent, but he's got to prove himself to me as a leader. That stung because Stephen A. wasn't questioning Cam's physical gifts. Everyone knows Cam is one of the most dynamic athletes ever to play the position. The critique was about leadership under bright lights and high pressure. In Stephen A.'s eyes, Cam could take over a game, but he didn't always elevate the entire squad when everything was on the line. And for a quarterback known for swagger, confidence, and those iconic Superman celebrations, getting labeled as shaky in big moments hit hard. Then there's Antonio Brown, one of the most naturally gifted receivers the NFL has ever seen, but also one of the most complicated figures in recent memory. From Pittsburgh to Oakland and beyond, AB produced highlight after highlight, but just as many headlines. Stephen A. never let up, constantly saying, Antonio Brown is a guy with a lot of talent, but he's got a lot of drama. And that drama label stuck hard. Locker room tension, disagreements with Ben Roethlisberger, sudden exits, social media blowups, AB lived through all of it. Stephen A. insisted the off-field chaos overshadowed AB's production and said AB could never reach his full potential until he left the distractions behind. Fans debated nonstop. Was AB misunderstood, or was he wasting his gifts with too much noise around him? Even Josh Allen, Buffalo's franchise savior and the man who revived the Bills Mafia, didn't escape Stephen A.'s critiques. On a 2020 First Take segment, Stephen A. said, "Josh Allen's got a lot of talent, but he's got to prove himself to me as a consistent quarterback." In his eyes, Allen's flashes of brilliance weren't the issue. His question was whether Allen could string together elite performances when the pressure got real and championship stakes came into play. Could he take Buffalo all the way, or would he burn out before getting there? And Josh wasn't alone under Stephen A.'s spotlight. Dak Prescott, the face of the Dallas Cowboys and leader of America's team, got his own share of heat too. Stephen A. has repeatedly questioned Dak's leadership and even criticized the way he handled his contract negotiations. In another 2020 First Take moment, he said, "Dak Prescott's got to prove himself to me as a leader. He's got to show me he's worth the money," Stephen A. felt. Dak's contract talks were messy. His leadership was inconsistent, and his performance didn't always match the massive payday he wanted. And that's the pattern. No matter the name, no matter the resume, Stephen A. will find a way to flip the conversation into a headline and force the world to react. From Brady's crown, to Rodgers' leadership style, to OBJ's discipline, to AB's chaos, to Cam's big stage moments, nobody is immune. And now, Shedeur Sanders has stepped into the middle of that same firestorm. This time, though, the stakes feel different. This isn't just Stephen A. critiquing another athlete. This is Stephen A. reacting to a young quarterback challenging the NFL machine itself. He doesn't do this because he hates Shedeur. Stephen A. goes after moves he sees as risky, confusing, or short-sighted. That's part of his identity. That's his lane. Even if it means putting a 22-year-old rookie on a massive stage and grilling him in front of millions, Stephen A. sees it as part of the job. But here's where things get real. This isn't just a debate that fades once next season begins. Shedeur Sanders is standing at a crossroads that could define his entire future. Will he break under the nonstop criticism and the politics swirling around him? Or will he rise above it and become the athlete who finally cracks the NFL's control over talent and opportunity? Because if Shedeur succeeds outside their structure, he won't just silence the critics, he'll reshape the business of football forever. That's why this Instagram Live wasn't just messy drama. It was history forming right in front of everyone watching. And Stephen A. didn't just confront a player, he accidentally spotlighted a system the NFL would rather keep behind closed doors. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more breakdowns just like this one.